Hello and welcome to another Arsecast Extra, as always, with James from Gunnerblog. James, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Andrew. How you doing?
I'm all right. I have a yellow arm.
Go on. I feel like that requires further explanation.
So, in the sitting room, we have a table beside the sofa on which I sit, and there are flowers in there. Mm-hmm. And the flowers have opened up, they've bloomed, and the inside of the flowers, what do you call it? Like the pollen? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
So all the pollen of these lilies got all over my arm as I was sort of reaching back and forward for my glass of wine last night while I was watching a movie with Denzel Washington and Gene Hackman.
That's nice. What, next to you on the sofa?
Yeah, they were both there, yeah.
What movie did you watch?
Crimson Tide.
Great.
Crimson Tide. Poor Gene couldn't be there, unfortunately, but Denzel was there. He's
of course.
He's a good house guest. What can I tell you? But anyway, this
lily pollen, isn't that poisonous?
I think it is to dogs.
Right.
Is that? Yeah. Am I?
Cats for sure. Cats for sure.
Right.
Beware cats and lilies. I don't know. It's probably not great for dogs, but
yeah, dogs will eat any old thing, though. So
that's the trouble. Well, that's good. I'm glad. When you said your arm was yellow, I feared it was kind of the latter stages of some bad bruising.
No. Thankfully, nothing as serious as that. I just look like 14% like I'm in The Simpsons. Because I've tried like really hard to scrub it off, in the shower, and it's not as yellow as it was, but it's still more yellow than I would like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's permanent. Who knows?
But apart from that, I'm pretty much okay. How's everything your end? How's your weekend been?
It's good. I've just returned from a pumpkin patch.
Oh.
A farm where you can pick and purchase pumpkins.
Okay.
My 2-year-old son is, to be honest, sort of absolutely obsessed with fruits and vegetables to like quite a mad degree.
Okay. Can he differentiate? Does he say this is not a pumpkin, this is a butternut squash, for example?
Mate, he knows that. He knows them all.
Wow.
He knows them all. This morning he was walking around the house holding a quince and shouting, "I've got a quince." At nursery the other day, he asked them at lunchtime for pak choi. It's an obsession. It's a true obsession.
Fair play, though. Fair play. It can often be a bit of a trial, a tribulation to get kids to eat vegetables in any way. And if he's already there, then you're way ahead of the curve.
Sometimes he doesn't want to eat them, because it's sort of reached the point where they're like kind of toys or like teddies to him almost.
Right.
He's going to bed clutching an onion, stuff like that.
Yeah. I can't eat my favorite celeriac.
Yeah. Sometimes he will eat them, but like occasionally you'll skin the wrong apple and all hell breaks loose.
Simon, no!
Yeah. Exactly that. He's invested them with life.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, so with Halloween coming up, it's pumpkin season. Okay. Halloween is big here now, like way bigger than it ever was when I was growing up.
Same here. I mean, houses get decorated in the way that they would typically only get decorated at Christmas. And you will see, fake webs and monsters and things hanging out the windows and stuff. There's one house up the road from us which they put a load of sort of zombies in the front garden. And I can remember years ago when Archer was just actually a puppy and going for a walk with him and walking past this house, and it's just sort of from one gatepost to the next, and he jumped about 6 feet in the air because there's like 6 or 7 zombies. Half of them are sort of coming out of the garden and out of the ground and stuff like that. So people put a lot of effort into it these days.
Speaking of zombies and Halloween, a quick glance at the fixture list tells me that our Halloween weekend fixture is Burnley away. Which can sometimes feel like you've you're in a horror movie of some description.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably less horrific now that Sean Dyche is not there. Is Scott Parker, I think he is less horrific than Sean Dyche.
Sean Dyche linked with a return to the Premier League. Have you seen that?
Nottingham Forest, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck are they doing there? Seriously.
Seriously, guys, what do Edu do?
What do Edu do? I mean, they had a great thing going on last season with Nuno, and now it's sort of, well, the other way.
Just make Jarabchin the manager. It feels like the inevitable.
Careful, you might get a phone call.
Yeah. But no, that's a terrible state of affairs. Imagine if Edu goes from kind of collaborating with Mikel Arteta to, in the space of a few months, Sean Dyche.
Advocating for Sean Dyche, obviously, as well. Unless it's Marinakis sort of, he likes a huskier guy. That could have been why he's gone for Ange,
Right. Yeah. That's the common thread.
Sean Dyche, he's a burly kind of chap, I suppose, sort of barrel-shaped, a bit like Marinakis himself. He's about
if that
4
is the
barrels.
Point they make, that is proper chaos, isn't it? Because although apart from their gravelly voices, you couldn't really find two managers ideologically further apart than Dyche and Postecoglou.
It sort of suggests they don't really know what the fuck they're doing.
It really does. It really does. It's an interesting one, that. I mean, because Edu was, I think certainly at Arsenal or within Arsenal, his departure was seen as a big loss and a bit of a blow to Mikel Arteta, albeit a blow that the club were determined to sort of turn into a positive by leading a big recruitment process and getting fresh blood and fresh ideas and fresh impetus. But yeah, you have to look at sort of what's going on at Forest and wonder about, Edu's decision and, thought-making process. And also being completely transparent also makes you reflect on, like, his time with us slightly differently as well. You're like, well, did he... I don't know. Like, it's been so bizarre since he went there and looked like such a mess that it certainly does give you sort of cause for a bit of reflection and consideration.
I mean, it wasn't a mess until they made it one, They had a great season last season and Nuno had done really well there and they were in Europe and it was all set up for him to continue the good work that he had done, because there's no question they were punching above their weight last season, right? So they sort of reverted to the mean a little bit and then, they sort of diddled Crystal Palace out of the Europa League place, didn't they? They were a bit snitchy, Nottingham Forest. So maybe they deserve what they're getting right now for being snitches.
Karma for grassing on Palace. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. But
they did then appoint Ange Postecoglou as well, which, it's difficult to justify.
Yeah.
But enough of them.
Yes. How across the international fixtures have you been sitting down, I'm sure, with your notepad, taking notes on everything that all the Arsenal players have been doing?
Ask me about fruits and vegetables and I can give you some pretty detailed answers.
Okay.
The other day he came home with something called a mangosteen, I think it was called.
Oh, what?
Mangosteen, that was it.
Is that like a cross between a mango and a langoustine? Is this like the shellfish of the bush? What do they grow on? Bush?
Yeah, it's like a sort of plum. Anyway, what I'm saying is that stuff I'm across. The international break, slightly less so.
Okay. Did you see Bukayo Saka scoring a very good goal for England?
I did, yes.
Okay.
That was a wonderful goal.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was sort of a classic Saka goal in some respects, wasn't it? Tuck in from the right onto the left foot, bends it top corner. I was kind of amazed by the stat that he's now our highest scoring England international ever. I think that's...
I saw James Ollie tweet that, all right.
13, I think it is.
I did wonder about maybe some other players. Could you include Raheem Sterling in that? Because, I mean, he did play for us.
I think it's the amount of goals he scored while still an Arsenal player, presumably, or while at Arsenal.
I guess so.
Because Danny Welbeck has 16 England goals, for example.
So does Tony Woodcock, of the quite distant past. But not all of those goals would have been scored while he was an Arsenal player.
Yeah. Only the 9 England goals for Ian Wright.
He didn't get picked enough. That was the problem.
Yeah, the majority of which I would think while he was at Arsenal. Paul Merson England goals? I don't know.
Don't know.
Let's have a look. Paul Merson, just 3? Wow. That's quite surprising. England had a lot of forwards in that period. A lot of good forward players.
They did.
I think he beats Cliff Bastin, who was the previous record Arsenal/England goal scorer.
You got to go back sometime for the Cliff Bastin era, to be fair.
I don't remember it well.
No.
Not even I, in my venerable age.
Me neither.
I remember Cliff Bastin. But I remember Bastin. I remember, Cliff Bastin was a name you heard a lot if you were following Arsenal in the 90s because of Ian Wright's pursuit of his records.
Which ultimately he broke, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which had stood for such a long time. Was it the 30s in which Bastin was playing? 20s or 30s, I think.
I wasn't alive, James.
Yeah, it's before even our time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel obliged to actually answer that question now. Tim Stillman would know.
Yeah.
It was the 30s predominantly, although he was there into the 40s as well.
Okay.
No wonder he scored so many goals.
He retired at 73 years of age.
Basically, yeah. Sort of like Cristiano Ronaldo, just sort of refusing to go, But yes, Saka was a great goal. Miles Lewis-Skelly came on, I believe.
Declan Rice was captain.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can have a German manager, you can have an Irish captain.
Yeah, quite right. And they must play again.
They are. They're playing Latvia, is it, I think?
Okay, but not till Tuesday.
Yeah, because the game against Wales was just a friendly. But they're England away to Latvia on Tuesday. So,
yeah. I'm just looking at who played left back instead of Miles. It was Jed Spence who started in that position.
Right.
But yeah, interesting fullback selections actually. Jed Spence played left back, and Ezri Konsa played at right back. So there was a bit of rotation there. I don't think it's quite panic stations for Miles in that respect.
Not yet. Apart from that, the players have been playing. Timber played for the Netherlands.
Zubimendi and Marino played.
Yeah, they played yesterday. Viktor Gyokeres played. Sweden lost 2-0 to Granit Xhaka. Switzerland.
That's a very good result.
Gyokeres and Alexander Isak started together up top, and they failed to score. Sweden bottom of their group.
He was presented with an award, Gyokeres. I did see that, for being perhaps the top scorer in the Nations League or something like that.
Another prestigious one, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Saliba played for France. Trossard played for Belgium. They drew. Brazil, what a interlull travel journey they're on. Away to South Korea, they won 5-0. Brazil, Gabriel played the full game there. Gabriel Martinelli did not play. Then they're going to play Japan on Tuesday. I mean, that's something for Mikel Arteta to think about before Fulham, isn't it? The minutes that Martinelli and Gabriel will have spent travelling over the course of this international break.
I guess so, yeah. Especially if Gabriel, as you would imagine, sort of plays 90 minutes in that second game.
Yeah.
Could well do, right? To do that and then spend 14 hours or whatever it is getting home. It's not ideal preparation.
Yeah, I think they do get premium economy though.
They get premium economy. Okay.
Premium economy, yeah. So
what do they get for that? They get they get a free couple of glasses of wine.
That's it. Plain wine is the worst wine in the
finest wine in the world. The finest wine is found thousands of miles above land.
On plains.
It's the worst. It's not the best, is it?
No.
I like that you get the little bottle sometimes and it makes you feel like a giant. I like that aspect. But
I've never thought about it in that way.
I'll drink anything on a plane, Andrew. That's how I survive planes.
No, that's fine. I get that. But I'd never thought about it from the perspective of, haha, I'm a giant. Look at my tiny bottle.
Oh, I love that.
The whole Gulliver's Travels thing going on for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a wonderful feeling. That's the same reason I love canapes that are like tiny food, you know?
Yeah, why don't they just give you like really, really small sandwiches to go with your small wine, like a bag of crisps that's almost too small to open because in comparison, relative to the tiny bottle of wine, the bag of crisps is going to be minuscule. That would be hilarious.
I'd like that if everything was just to scale.
Yeah.
Something for them to think about, perhaps.
Ethan Nwaneri played for England under 21s. They beat Moldova 4-0. He got 2 assists. I think one of the assists was one of those where he played a pass and some lad fucking spanked it into the bottom corner from 25 yards.
Right.
So it's a generous assist, but they all count.
Statistically, they do. Jamie Gittins played. Rico Lewis. Somebody called Divin Mubama scored twice, and I confess, I don't know who that is.
I don't either.
He is a Manchester City forward on loan at Stoke.
Wow, well, fuck that guy then.
Wow, what a toxic combination. But yeah, it's been a pretty. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, Andrew. Maybe I've not got my ear to the ground enough. But in terms of sort of international football, it's pretty dry.
Yeah. I know there's this mix of friendlies and World Cup qualifiers and all that kind of stuff. But it's that thing, isn't it? When we've gone into the interlull in the position that we're in on the top of the table, where you're sort of like, just get this out of the way. Get it out of the way so we can get back going and winning games again, scoring goals and all that kind of stuff. So,
I mean, the exciting thing to tell you is there's another one in November. There has been a bit of Arsenal news, nevertheless. All the stadium business, the story in the Telegraph about possible stadium plans, David Raya's pay rise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sort of discussed all of that on Friday in the Arsecast. So,
well, what am I supposed to do then?
I don't know. I mean, vegetable quiz.
So Clive had stuff to talk about, did he? What about me?
What about you? Yeah. Sorry, I should have saved some. I should have kept something in reserve. Well, what about Martin Zubimendi then? Did you read the interview with Martin Zubimendi?
Not the full thing. I read the clips. I read the excerpts that you shared on your blog, actually.
Okay.
Go on, tell me about it. It was with Sid Lowe.
Yeah, with Sid Lowe, as always, who does great stuff. And he doesn't have his dog with him. He's come from San Sebastian, the Scotland of Spain, to London, and his dog is not yet living with him, not yet over from Spain. I don't know if that's a paperwork thing. You've got to do the old...
quarantine.
You don't have to do quarantine if you get... Because I remember doing this when we came back from Spain with our pets, with our cats and Opus, the basset hound.
Yeah.
We have the same sort of strict quarantine anti-rabies thing here that you do over there. But there is a way of doing it where you don't have to put the dog in quarantine for 6 months because...
Is it that you have to... zip them up inside a suitcase?
You've got to vacuum pack the dog We're just a little
Please don't
straw
vacuum
out.
pack your dogs, listeners.
I'm sure
I implore
they
you.
I'm sure they will. But you've got to start the process like 6 months in advance, and they've got to get a shot, anti-rabies shot, and then some other one, and then you've got to get a pet passport, basically. And then when they get here, I think they had to stay in for like a day, and then they were free to go. So I don't know what the hold up here is with him.
But he's got no excuse, really, because it's not as if he didn't know this transfer was happening.
Well, that's true. That's true.
The world and his figurative wife was aware for a very long time.
Yeah. It's probably something to do with Brexit, is it? I don't know.
Probably. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the bits and pieces I've seen, I've just been having a flick through as well now. I do like the cut of his jib. I like the way Zubimendi speaks in Spanish, and in the little bits of English that he's done as well. I think he seems like a guy who's really got his head screwed on. Even when he talks about how the transfer came about and sort of his loyalty to La Real, his reluctance in some ways to leave unless it was absolutely the right project.
He said, because he'd, obviously been lined up by Liverpool. He said it was, not the right time to leave Real Sociedad. And then he said, I'd watched Arsenal. I liked everything I saw in terms of passion, youth, the feeling you get when you watch them. And then Mikel Arteta called me. Well, if you've ever spoken to him, you'll know he can be very convincing. And the very is in italics. So that means very, 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 very convincing.
Yeah. Muy
convincing. He's not the first person to say that, is he?
Observe that, no. I mean, I think he's been excellent since coming in. Martin Zubimendi, really excellent. And I think, I'm delighted by his impact in the team. I think he's an upgrade on what we had before in that position. And he's settling brilliantly. He speaks a bit in the interview about kind of the physicality and how pronounced it is as compared to Spain, the amount of transitions, the intensity of the duels. And I suppose that's where you would have maybe queried him or questioned him or wondered whether he'd be able to hit the ground running. But I think maybe with the possible exception of the opening weekend against Manchester United, I think he's largely been very, very
No,
very
I think what we saw against Nottingham Forest is a better indication of what we're going to get from this player. When he came, West Ham, sorry. When he came on against West Ham and sort of ran the show, really, I think that is the best glimpse of what we're going to get from Martin Zubimendi, which I think is very, very exciting. It augurs well. It's only 7 games into a new Premier League season. I think you're right, though, about how grounded he is. He's 26, plenty of experience, at club and international level, was ready to make the move. What did you make of what he called the worst thing in football? Did you see that?
No, what was that?
What do you think he thinks the worst thing in football is?
The worst thing, I don't know. Diving?
No. Think about a player going to a new club and what the worst thing might be.
Oh, initiation.
Yes.
Song.
He said, it's the worst thing in football. I had to sing. I did La Bachata by Manuel Turizo.
Yeah.
And he said it was horrible, horrible. I went and looked up that song. We can't play it on the podcast because they've done a thing now with any clip of music. They'll just sort of take the episode down because of copyright and stuff like that.
Really? Even if it's like really short?
Yeah, even a real tiny snippet. There's new rules, and I've had emails from Spotify about old episodes and all kinds of things. So I've been like, fuck off Spotify, but I have had to do some editing. But I did look up that song. It's not an easy song to sing. It really doesn't seem easy at all. Like, I feel like there's probably easier songs you could sing. What would it be like if you were a new player at a club and they said, right, do your initiation song, and you just sang happy birthday or something?
Yeah.
It's over quickly. Everyone knows the words. They'll all join in. And it's over in like 20 seconds.
That's what you want. Sing along. You know what I mean? I'm always struck, like, a lot of the time these kids will, get promoted to the first team for their first major call up, and they get their initiation song, and they go for like a really recent or niche song which none of the senior pros will ever have heard of, and I think you're making life hard for yourself.
Yeah. Say
you need to do "Come On, Eileen,"
something like that. Yeah. Say you're signed by Arsenal tomorrow, and you've got to do your song. What song are you doing?
"Come On, Eileen," I think.
Right. Okay.
And I want everyone in on the Toulouse Rayets, even Martin Zubimendi. I totally get that, by the way. Like, I singing in like a public setting, like karaoke, for me is a real no-go.
Oh, I know there's
Elliot's tried to lure me to the karaoke booth.
He tries to lure everyone to do karaoke.
And let me tell you, it ain't happening.
I have resisted thus far.
It's weird because I am a performer in some parts of my life.
Yes. But singing in public is the most scary thing you can do, I think.
It makes you real. It's a pretty vulnerable place to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, not for me. So I hear you, Martin, on that one.
Yeah, he didn't like it.
But he's 26. Like, he's a grown up. He's a grown up. He can handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. What was I going to say next? What else is happening? Nothing.
Well, it's, is it Fulham this weekend?
Next weekend.
Next weekend. Yeah.
Do we say this weekend? Oh, this weekend is this weekend. But
I don't know when they're
weekend
listening to this,
Today? But today might not be today.
I think it's next weekend.
Right.
But if they're listening tomorrow, I think it's this weekend.
This coming weekend.
Work?
I guess it would.
Yeah. This weekend coming.
Would.
It's the big Cronkies versus Khans showdown. Are you aware of this?
No.
So we are at Fulham, which is KSE versus Shahid and Tony Khan, who own Fulham. And then on Sunday, the following day, in London, I believe the LA Rams take on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ah, okay. I did not. I just looked up the Fulham owners. I didn't know they were also NFL owners.
Yeah. They've got a few properties, as it were.
That dude's got a hell of a mustache, doesn't he?
Yeah. That's what the showdown's really about. It's Stan versus that guy.
Stan needs to sit at the bar like, what's his name? From The Big Lebowski. He's got the hat and the mustache. Sam.
Oh, yes. He's called Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott. And he's got the big tash,
Yeah.
Sitting there.
That's a hell of a look, yeah. But Shahid Khan, he's got something going on that top lip.
He really does.
Something that's difficult to rival.
It's sort of like, it's like a sort of, I don't know, if you were going to buy a costume mustache, that's what it would look like.
They were all based on his.
I mean, I'm impressed. I'm not being in any way critical or taking the mick. I'm impressed. That's a hell of a mustache.
Well, you're a man with a moustache yourself.
That's true. But I feel hugely inadequate all of a sudden.
I know.
What am I
doing? These billionaires.
See,
they invest a lot of time and money in their moustache.
He went to Turkey and he got a fucking mustache transplant.
I've thought about doing that.
Getting a mustache transplant.
Basically, I grow facial hair in quite a sort of, I don't know how to describe it. There are gaps.
Right.
There are gaps, and one of them is in my, is it called your philtrum? The bit like where your lips, between your lips and your nose.
That sounds like a vegetable.
Yeah, but it usually is actually at the moment with me. So yeah, it's sort of frustrating because I don't have the complete tash. It's very important that I stay away from Craven Cottage this weekend,
right?
Because I'll be swallowed up by the feelings of inferiority. But yes, I'm expecting a significant Kroenke-led delegation
at Craven Cottage. Oh yeah, I suppose they'll probably both be there, won't they? If Stan is over for the LA Rams, where are they playing? Are they playing it in the bad place?
I suspect so.
Right.
I suspect so. It's Wembley. Okay. Is it Wembley State? Is it Wembley?
I don't know.
Let's have a look.
NFL.
It's Wembley.
Right.
That's better.
He probably had to say, listen, if we're bringing the LA Rams, I can't play at the Tottenham Stadium.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have had to say that, right?
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, I think they have before. Have they?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't follow NFL. Sorry, guys. But I'm expecting, a bit of a delegation. I don't know if Stan will be here. I think there's a chance. Certainly, I would expect Josh to be. I would imagine some of our shiny new board members will be in attendance. And there'll be a KSE hoedown.
But
on Saturday night. And a moustache competition.
Line dancing their way to hopefully, or celebrating the 3 points at Craven Cottage. There is a Champions League game in midweek as well, isn't there, on the Tuesday? So they could hang around for that. Big one, by the way, Atletico Madrid. So
yeah, that's a pretty tasty game. Pretty tasty game. We had a question about the games. I might throw it in, Andrew. I think
let's come on, let's do it.
It's from Ranbo. And it says, Arsenal's next games before the November interlull are Fulham away, Atletico home, Palace home, Brighton at home in the EFL Cup, Burnley away, Slavia Prague away, Sunderland away. It looks like a kind run of games, especially in the Premier League. How many points do you realistically think we should be taking from these games? So in the league, it's Fulham, Palace, Burnley, Sunderland.
Why do people keep asking us to predict things?
When we have shown.
We have demonstrated over a long period of time, since day one, that we are absolutely useless at this kind of stuff.
But I think that, to be honest, I think that's what keeps people coming back. One of two things. Either it's very satisfying to listen to, because you get to play along at home and be like, these guys are so wrong. You know what I mean? And they can make their own predictions and feel validated when they are right and we are ultimately incorrect.
Well, maybe that's it.
Or it's like they've come so far, they just feel like they need to hang on to see if we ever get something right.
They're invested in the miracle happening, lightning striking one day, and we're actually correct about something.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly that.
I think it's probably the former, to be honest.
Or their podcast apps are just broken. And, every time
I keep trying to unsubscribe. It won't let me.
They're desperate to unsubscribe. It just like auto plays every time.
I mean, look, you those are game. Two games in London. Burnley away is going to be tricky enough. Sunderland away, tricky because they've played. I mean, you're looking at two newly promoted sides. So I think if you're talking about expectations for a side that is expected to challenge for the title, I think you've got to say those two games you're looking at 6 points, right? And I'm not taking that for granted, but I think if we're just trying to do predictions on paper, then that's what you would have to say. Fulham away, I would put Fulham away in the same bracket as West Ham at home and Newcastle away. Like a thing that we've got to do better. A game we've got to do better in.
Yeah, there's a bit of history there, isn't there?
I mean, last season it was one of those where we absolutely dominated that game, and then there was a goal ruled out for a really, really marginal offside. And that's sort of
stooping header from Martinelli's cross. I remember it was a lovely goal.
Yeah. So that's sort of the fine margin there. Maybe the season before, did we win there? I can't quite remember, but we have an
No, the season before, we were beat there.
Was that? That was the
back of West Ham, weren't we?
Was that the early goal? No, that was the one last season.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the game where we got beat home to West Ham. We were like, well, we'll put it right against Fulham. And then it was New Year's Eve.
And we lost 2-1.
The last day of 2023.
We lost 2-1.
We went ahead after 5 minutes from Bukayo Saka, but lost to goals from Raul Jimenez and Bobby de Cordova-Reid. And it was bleak.
Yeah. That was not great.
It was the end of it was a 3-game winless run. Do you remember that was the time where it was like, will Arsenal
ever score again?
Ever score?
And then we scored.
We did score. Yeah,
all the goals.
Still lost.
Yeah.
That was in the midst of like the XG underperformance era.
It was only 3 games, though. It just seemed to stretch for a really long time. It was that West Ham game
forever.
Yeah, and there was a cup game against Liverpool, wasn't there? We lost late against Liverpool, I think. Okay, so listen, I'll stand by that then. That's a game where I think we've got to give Fulham a bit back. You know, having lost there or not won there for a little while, I think we need to go and win at Craven Cottage. So I'm taking 3 points on Saturday against Fulham. Palace at home, again, home game. You would.
Palace good though, aren't they?
But Palace are good. You know, they're very, very good. Where are Palace at the moment? Like,
I think they lost their last game just before the break.
Premier League table, they're in 6th
currently.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lost at Everton.
But they beat Liverpool, as we know. So you take nothing for granted against Crystal Palace. They were on like a 18-19 game unbeaten run, which was incredible form. What can happen, though, a bit when a team is on one of those runs and then they lose, it can take a little while just to sort of get back on track. So maybe that'll be the case with Palace, but I don't know. I mean, it's one of those where it's a home game. You want to win it. You expect to win it. But I don't know. Is 10 points from 12 enough? Am I being greedy enough there? Would you be happy with 10 points from 12?
Yes, I would. I think 12 is possible. But what away trips? Fulham, Sunderland, Palace at home. Oh, you're away at Burnley as well. Listen, I actually think we, as a fan base, will be disappointed if we fail to win any of those games. Like on an individual basis, you know, if we drop 2 points to Burnley or Sunderland, or I think even Palace, there'll be a degree of kind of introspection and concern. But if at the end of it, that's all we've done and it's 10 from 12, I think in full context, we'll be like, that's not a bad stint.
Yeah.
And also, I think it might depend what happens around it in the other competitions. You know, you've got 2 Champions League games there, one a bit of a sort of plum draw, really, a big game at home to Atleti.
Yeah.
And you've got the EFL Cup, which, again, it's a home draw, which you'll be happy with, but it's not an easy draw any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Against Brighton.
No, I mean, they're a good team and they've got lots of good players and probably will, I'm not going to say they'll take it more seriously than we will, but, you know, we do have the squad, to rotate and keep things.
I kind of feel like we need, I know that people sort of really, there's no love for the Carabao Cup at this stage, but I kind of feel like for those squad players, it's potentially quite important. There are certain players who need those minutes in that competition.
Sure.
So yeah, I think But there's no doubt that the other two competitions will be prioritised in terms of selection.
Yeah, it's a tricky run, isn't it? Fulham away, Atletico Madrid at home, Palace at home, Brighton at home, Burnley away, Slavia Prague away, and Sunderland away. So a little.
They're three sizable trips, aren't they? In succession at the end there.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Especially for the away fans, by the way. That Sunderland one is a nightmare. No trains at all.
Oh, it's a 5:30 kickoff, isn't it?
It's a 5:30 on a Saturday, and I think there are long-standing engineering works taking place. So
That's
a train
handy.
to Sunderland is completely out of the question.
And there's only 2 hotels in the entire city of Sunderland, and they're probably all booked out. Yeah, there's a Premier Inn and a Four Seasons, and that's it.
Something for everyone. I think a lot of people are flying to Newcastle. The club are laying on
Private jets.
individual private jets for every travelling supporter. No, I think there's some coach travel.
Right.
Potentially subsidised. I'm not sure.
I've huge respect for anybody who can sit on a coach from Sunderland to London.
Yeah.
After
You've
a game of football.
You really want to pay your respects to Granit Xhaka. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Coach is subsidised by the club at £26 return.
I mean, that's a decent price, but it is probably, about 6 hours? Is it that long?
I think that would be, given that presumably they'll be stopping and stuff, I think that'd be a good run.
Stop off like at a service station for a quick wimpy, whatever it is.
Yeah. Wimpy not included.
Buy your own wimpy.
Yeah, I mean, hats off. You know, and there will be people who will do Burnley, Prague,
absolutely,
Sunderland. But yeah, big week especially for those travelling fans.
All right. Well, look, why don't we take a little bit of a break here? We do have questions, so we can get into the questions, I think, in part 2, because I think that's probably just as much as I think we can garner out of a Sunday afternoon in an interlull where there's not much going on. We did have a question. Did you see we were given a suspended £500,000 fine?
Yes.
Elizabeth said, can you talk about Arsenal being sanctioned by the FA for £500,000? But it wasn't actually £500,000. It's suspended sentence, if you like.
It's basically like if you do it again. And the offence is not giving United the full allocation for the cup tie.
That's right. They should have got 15% of the available tickets, which is up to around 9,000, but they got fewer than 8,000.
How did that work out for us in the end?
The game?
Well, the game, yeah.
Well, I'm looking at the piece that Andrew Allen wrote for Arseblog News, and the final line is, an utterly dogshit 10-man Man United side somehow won the tie on penalties after 120 minutes of painfully disjointed Arsenal attacking. Just thinking about it still makes us angry. So I don't think Andrew's over that one yet. So
I think most of us are with him, to be honest.
All right.
So I would say if you're going to get that fine, you might as well get it for like a funny reason, like give them like 4 tickets. You know?
Yeah.
I think if anything, we sort of undershot it.
Yeah. Well, listen, we know what to do if you want to do a funny thing in the season ahead. So,
and we have a spare $500,000 hanging around.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like we spent any money this summer, so there's plenty in the coffers, I think. So it should all be good. All right, let's take a little break. We'll come back with some of your questions and more in part 2 right after this. Welcome back to the Arsecast Extra. This is part 2 of the show where we answer the questions that you sent to us on Blue Sky at gunnerblog.bsky.social, also at arseblog.com, and on the Arseblog Discord chat server, which you get access to if you are an Arseblog member on Patreon. I have a little question for you first before we get into the questions. So this occurred. Yeah, well, I mean, I want to ask you something. I don't know if you have the answer or not, but a couple of weeks ago, I was foostering around on YouTube, and a video from The Overlap popped up you know? The podcast with Ian Wright and Roy Keane, Gary Neville, Jamie Carr, and Jill Scott. So I looked at it for a bit and then was like, I'll turn that off. And then might have been the next day or the day after, I'm looking at Sky Sports and Roy Keane, who in this overlap video appeared to be completely clean shaven, was on Sky Sports with what looked like was a big beard. How does that man go from clean shaven to massive beard how does he do it so quickly?
I don't know.
It is
weird.
weird.
To get him down to Craven Cottage this weekend. He can engage in the competition.
Yeah. The full fucking Captain Haddock beard he has, you know?
If I can get some of his face follicles transplanted onto me.
Onto you, yeah.
That's into my... You know, like I keep saying, I think it's my philtrum or something.
Yeah.
But I'm now getting like a massive terror that's like some abstract, some like very like secret part of my bum or something. And it's like, why do you know that word, James? Do you know what I mean?
Philtrum, the vertical groove between the base of the nose and the border of the upper lip.
Thank God.
You're thinking of perineum.
Yeah. Yeah. But I had sudden podcaster's panic that I'd been talking about my perineum all over the interwebs.
No. Thankfully not. Thankfully,
no.
What would happen though? It'd be given that we're getting close to Halloween and pumpkins and all that kind of stuff. If you got like some of Roy Keane's hair transplanted onto your top lip to give you a Stan Kroenke, Sam Elliott kind of mustache, but in a twist, it also made you slightly evil, like
break
Roy
people's
Keane,
legs and say that's people's job.
Yeah, it's your job,
and have a Cork accent.
Yeah.
That's a good movie. I'd watch it.
Yeah, okay, well, good. Someone write the script. We'll star in that. Okay, here is a question. It comes from Andrew on the Discord, not me, a different Andrew. He says,
Andrew Allen.
It's not even Andrew Allen. It's just plain old Andrew. I don't know.
The actor Andrew Garfield.
That's it. We know he's a big listener, loves lasagna.
Is he an Arsenal fan?
Oh, God, no idea. I'll tell you what.
He is, actually.
Oh, is he?
Well, a quick Google produces a picture of him in some Arsenal merchandise.
Okay. So, Andrew Garfield, Anne Hathaway, and Mark Strong. This is where we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So good.
When we make Arseblog the movie, the cast, Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could play this game all day.
Right. Anyway, Andrew says, you have often, he says postulated. I think he means postulate.
Again, that's an example of what I'm talking about.
Postulate is something quite different
sort
indeed.
Of Freudian slip.
But anyway, he says you've quite often postulated that Arteta learns or addresses lessons from the previous season in the summer transfer market. What do you think the biggest lesson he learned so far this season is?
Listen, I'm wary sometimes that we kind of apply narrative over footballing events like it's Lurpak. You know what I mean? Like we lay our own stories onto events that may not be connected in reality.
Right.
But I can't help but feel that when the story of this season is written, the halftime double change at home to Man City will be a kind of significant plot point. It's kind of the bridge between Act 1 and Act 2, I think, where, and Mikel Arteta would probably object to this phrasing, but where the handbrake maybe comes off.
He would definitely object.
I think there's... I think that has been the lesson, really. Even in these early weeks, I think there has been a bit of a shift to a slightly more adventurous approach. And I think it really is just a case of leaning into the strengths of the players that are now in the squad.
Sure.
But yeah, that feels like the sort of potential turning point for me. What about you?
I think that's a good one. I was actually struggling with that question, so that's why I asked you.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I could help out.
Yeah.
I mean, how that relates to sort of next summer, that means that, like, next summer he'll be, like, persuading Ronaldinho to come out of retirement. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. One of those mad things, like Arteta.
I've signed Lee Trundle.
He played with Ronaldinho, though. Arteta played with Ronaldinho.
He did, yeah. He speaks very highly of him.
Yeah.
I think he was asked, like, who's the most skillful player you played with? I think he was torn between Ronaldinho and Okocha, which was remarkable because they played in the same PSG team.
Right.
Maybe that's why he's so reluctant to play with two number 8s or number 10s. It's trauma from being the number 6.
Maybe so.
With those two in front of you.
I'm just imagining Lee Carsley sitting at home then going, "Oh,
yeah,
no, not me. I was better than people thought, you know."
Yeah, I mean, that was some PSG team.
Yeah.
So there you go. But yeah, I think, like I say, like I do wonder if Mikel would kind of push back at this idea, you know, that he's this sort of utilitarian, you know, structural coach, and in the last 3 weeks he suddenly became more creative or attacking, and I think he would, you know, clearly it is an oversimplification.
Yeah,
but equally, I do look at the selections. I look at those halftime changes. I look at the fact that Eze played at Newcastle the following week, that Eze and Odegaard were picked together the week after that. There is a pattern there. There is some sort of correlation, I think.
Sure.
So let's see where it goes from here.
Okay.
We've got some interesting questions here. Let me have a look.
Okay.
Did the fixtures one. Oh, I thought this was interesting. Father Nono of Temple Man Thigh said, with Hincapié soonish to return to action, do you think we'll eventually see the full transition of Mars Lewis Skelly to midfield? If not, what do you think the plan is carrying 3 left backs, although 2 can play centre back as well?
Great question. Not sure I have the answer.
Yeah, curious, isn't it? And because we've seen about 30 seconds of Hincapié in
Bilbao, that was it. Yeah, about 4 or 5 minutes.
It sort of feels like a question we really have no idea as to the answers of at this point in time.
Yeah,
he does feel to me like a massive. What do you think I was going to say?
I could just hear you say the word. I could hear you say a word there that I just would have been very funny. That was a bad word. Yeah, no. You know, we don't need to.
No. What I was going to say is that I when I heard about it happening, and indeed when it happened subsequently, and to this day, I know that it was a replacement for Jakub Kiwior, and it was kind of one in, one out. It still feels to me like a pretty luxurious signing. Like, I've always looked at the sort of complexion of the squad and thought, I think we probably had enough at the back. Maybe, obviously, you know, crises happen and things change, and wow, what an insurance policy. But there is still part of me and I know we're having to get used to Arsenal being more aggressive in the market and maybe more aggressive this summer than they have ever been in my memory. But I still am a bit like surprised and sort of amazed, really, that that deal happened. I'm very curious to see what happens.
Yeah, same. I mean, I did chat with Clive about this a bit on Friday, and what the longer term issue or plan might be for Miles Lewis Skelly if the Hincapié deal, for example, is made permanent. He is still on loan, but it could well be like the David Raya one.
It is, from what I hear.
Yeah.
So, basically, both clubs have to not want it to be permanent.
Right.
I think that's sort of a formality. I fully expect him to be an Arsenal player.
So I I think it is part of the lesson that Arteta learned from last season, though. That
yes, to go back to that question.
You just cannot be short anywhere.
Don't take chance.
Can't run the risk of not having cover in key positions, particularly defensive positions. As we know, Arteta, I think, has built his team on a really solid defensive platform, which is why I think at times, it looks as if he is primarily a defensive manager. And I don't really agree with that. I think it is a lot more nuanced than that, but I do think he absolutely values a defensive platform. So, yeah, I think it's just complete insurance.
I think from the bits and pieces I've heard, I think he is seen more as a left back than a centre back. That's certainly someone who can do both jobs, but we spoke on here before about the fact he's played wing back for Leverkusen, and he's a bit more of a natural overlapper perhaps than, I don't know, a Lewis Skelly, and that might be complementary for somebody like Eze. But yeah, I'm really curious to see how he fits in, and I guess this block of games is when we might start to get an answer, because there are multiple competitions, multiple fronts to fight on. And Mikel Arteta said just before the break he expects him to be fit. Actually. So
yeah, I wasn't aware when he signed that he'd had a surgery during the summer. So that, I think the little groin strain he has is a bit of a consequence of that, or connected to that in some way. So hopefully he can come in. Listen, the ideal, of course, is that we're all sitting here going, right, we're really comfortable with whatever team Mikel Arteta picks. Whether it's Miles Lewis-Skelly at left back, or Riccardo Calafiori at left back, or Piero Hincapié at left back. I enjoyed the observation Lewis made. It was in the blog today. Calafiori playing for Italy against Estonia. Karl Hein in goal for Estonia. And Lewis says, Riccardo Calafiori has had 4 shots so far tonight, none with his left foot.
He's got a bet on somebody.
He's got a bet on with Lucas Paquetá about.
Well, on the subject of, I hope not. On the subject of Hincapié, we've been asked for another prediction by cartoon Steve Bold on Blue Sky, who said, "Afternoon, how many minutes do you guys expect Christian Norgard and Piero Hincapié to get between now and Christmas?" Oof. I think, let's say, in the Premier League. I don't even know how many games that is, frankly. But
yeah, probably 7, 8, 9 games. I don't know. I mean, I think Norgard is obviously going to be a fringe-ish kind of player, isn't he? Because of, what he's got ahead of him in Martin Zubimendi. Be looking for Norgard to play in that EFL Cup game, for example. The question, really is, can Zubimendi, or should Zubimendi play 90 minutes against Fulham, 90 minutes against Atletico, 90 minutes against Crystal Palace in the next game? It wouldn't surprise me if Norgard started against Fulham.
It would surprise me. I'll tell you why. Because I think Norgard's problem is not just Martin Zubimendi. I think it's also Mikel Merino. And I think that Mikel Arteta would sooner drop Rice into the holding midfield position and play Merino than he would just swap Norgard straight in for Zubimendi.
Maybe. But,
I don't know, obviously, but that's my assessment at the moment.
Listen, Rice went down in the West Ham game with a back problem and had to come off, and then he's gone away with England. He's played for England the other day, and he's going to play for England on Tuesday. I know he is a bit of a physical machine, but I also think you can't expect him, like Zubimendi, to do 90 in those games. I think there is a question of management, even if Norgard doesn't start against Fulham. And I do maybe retract that a little bit. I think it would be a bit surprising given our record there. But maybe the plan might be for Norgard to come on for Zubimendi with 20 minutes to go if the game is in a good enough state, you know. But I think he's got to get minutes. He does have to start to get minutes to be useful, because he has to. I mean, part of his job is to provide cover, but part of his job is also to help us keep Zubimendi fresh. I think that's what, you know, this big squad is about. So I don't know how many minutes these guys are going to get. I really don't. I can't predict. But I think they'll play.
I'll make a little prediction. I'll make a little prediction, which is that I don't think Norgard will start a Premier League game in that period.
Okay.
That feels bold, doesn't it?
Not really.
I think he'll play in the other competitions. I think he'll start the Carabao game. He might start the Prague game, maybe. Oh, he might start one in the league.
Burnley away, is that a Norgard start game, you know?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because he had a good pre-season. I think people were generally quite impressed with him, and like he's clearly a solid pro and pretty reliable. He obviously had that injury that sort of hindered him early on. I do look at it and think, I think Zubimendi's made himself so important so quickly that I think he'll play a lot of football.
But that's not unexpected, is it? You know, he's a big, high-profile signing. And I know it sort of went, we talked about this, about how it sort of went under the radar a little bit in terms of people's excitement, because it had been in the post for so long. When it happened, it was just like, okay, it's happened now, thank fuck. But you know, for me, it was always a really, really important, a really pivotal signing, you know, for what we needed to do with the team and the way we needed to develop the team. So I don't think that's a surprise. It's then about how do you manage that guy and his importance, and how can you cope, let's say, if he's not starting a game. He didn't start against West Ham, remember? So he came off the bench. I think Norgard, was Norgard on the bench?
I think he was.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I think, by the way, on the subject of predictions, I can't remember, obviously, exactly what pod it was on or what the precise question was, but we were asked for takes at some point in the summer, and one of my takes was that Zubimendi would, you know, it was at a time when all the talk was about Gyokeres and number 9 and everything, and I think I said something to the effect of, by the end of the season, we'll see Zubimendi as the most important signing of the summer. And I'd say, you know, who knows? Long way to go, and anything could happen. But there's a chance I may finally be right about something.
Right. Well, let's hope so.
Or I've just completely cursed him, of course.
Well, yeah, if you had to put some money on it, I know which way I'd
go. Go on, right. Ask me a question.
Okay, we've got a couple here about Gabriel Jesus. Hayland Hurula says, Gabriel Jesus should be reaching full fitness fairly soon. What role will he have in the team? Do you foresee him getting significant minutes, particularly since Havertz will be back next month and Madueke the month after? And Edzo Froma, also on the Discord, what is the latest on Gabriel Jesus' injury? I'm reading there's some interest in him from Brazilian teams and also Everton. Will he leave in the January window? Does he have a part to play in this current Arsenal squad? Loads of us wanted Trossard to leave this summer. He stayed and has proven of value. Can Jesus do the same?
Well, I'll kind of set my heart to one side and answer first with my head. And that would be to say that if somebody wants to buy Gabriel Jesus from you in January, I absolutely think you should sell him. I think if someone is willing to put money down, that means you recoup some cash on the player and take a sizable salary for a player who is not first choice off your wage bill. I think Arsenal should jump at the opportunity, to be honest with you.
There was talk about, you know, him being sold in the summer, which didn't make a lot of sense to me, given the seriousness of the injury he sustained in January. So he was, you know, there was no chance he was going to be fit enough for any team to to sign him in the summer. I have been a bit surprised at how he is a bit behind the mean in terms of his return. Like he wasn't included in the Champions League squad, and that was a bit of an alarm bell.
And we had the space.
Yeah,
as well.
We did.
And I was surprised by that because I think there was a kind of a curious thing where I think the squad selection came about a week or so after Gabriel Jesus had posted to his social media maybe about being back out on the grass.
Yeah.
So there'd been a bit of buzz and excitement of like, oh, right, when will he be back? And I think generally when it's an ACL, people tend to think 9 months-ish. And he did it mid-Jan. So that's a month ago. Yeah, I mean, I had heard more recently that, December, January is a more realistic time frame, which would explain his omission from the Champions League squad. And actually, I asked the club about it, and they were like, we don't, he's not expected to be fit to play a significant part in the group stage.
Maybe it was, a little bit more than an ACL, because is it the same knee that he had the...
Well, he's got a history of knee problems, hasn't he? So,
but the one he got at the World Cup that kept him out. Remember, he went into the World Cup, he was carrying an injury, and
was that a meniscus? But basically, obviously, the more trauma, the more scar tissue, the more complicated the procedure is, the more complicated the recovery may be. I mean, look, Gabriel Jesus is a player who, when he's at his very best, or I hesitate to say it, but when he was at his very best, there aren't many more fun players to watch. He was electric when he arrived at Arsenal, and transformed the team, changed our world, to quote Mikel Arteta. And he showed in that little stint prior to picking up the injury, there was that week where he scored about 14 goals against Crystal Palace.
Yeah, that's right.
He showed he still has something to offer. And if he doesn't leave in January and stays around the club as the sort of third choice centre forward, joker in the pack, you won't hear me complaining. Like, what a great option to have. But I don't really feel I can expect his contribution to be more than that at this stage.
I think that's fair. Like, if you're going into the second half of the season and Gabriel Jesus is still part of the squad, I think he's out of contract in the summer. Is that right?
Honest answer is I don't know. I will tell you what the often reliable transfer marks say. They say 27.
Okay, all right,
so
then.
He's got 2 years, which makes sense. He signed 22, 5 years.
I mean, to me, it would genuinely make more sense, unless there was a ridiculous offer, financially ridiculous offer, it would make more sense to hang on to him as insurance for the centre forward position. We've plenty in the wide areas, but as we've seen already, Saka's had an injury this season. Madueke is out injured. Kai Havertz has had an injury. We've got loads of depth, but we also have to expect players to be out. So unless there is a really, really good offer, I'd hang on to him. I just wonder maybe, what we think, and then a club does something that doesn't make a lot of sense to us, with regards to a player who you think, oh, that guy could have been quite useful actually, but they let him go or let him go on loan or something because, he needs to play.
I suppose imagine the fallout if we sell him January 1st and January 10th, yeah, it doesn't happen, but a striker picks up an injury. Yeah, I mean, I don't know as well what sort of financial imperatives might be in play for Arsenal in January. Like, we've spoken about how aggressive the summer window was. Will Arsenal be in a position where they have to sell a player? I honestly don't know. Only they have access to those kinds of numbers and know exactly where they're at with FFP. But I'd have to say, like, based on sort of the estimates that we've made, and that it's not impossible. Do you know what I mean? That's not inconceivable that they may be under a bit of pressure to sell somebody.
Yeah.
But whether they could, again, like, muddle through to the end of the season, because you might also rehabilitate Jesus a little bit in that time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he comes back, stays fit for 6 months, scores a couple of goals, you might stand a better chance of
getting a few quid in the summer. Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, he's 28, be 29 in April.
Until then, though.
I mean, it's a hell of a punt for any club to go for him. And he's big money at Arsenal. I imagine that would have to change. I don't know.
Yeah,
Nottingham Forest have done some weird things.
They have, all right.
Maybe they do another weird one. Do us a favour, I don't know.
We'll see. I mean, while we're on the subject of this, Solaris on the Discord asks, with Kai and Gabriel Jesus out for the foreseeable, how do you see us balancing Viktor Gyokeres' workload with 2 games a week until the next break in a month? Yeah. Like, there's a player, when we've talked about left back or centre half or midfield, you know, we've talked about the options that we have there. How do we do it with Gyokeres?
And by the way, I'm hoping it'd be interesting to see the timelines comparatively of, like, when we get Havertz back and when we get Jesus back. I think Havertz might be just ahead, but we shall see. How do we do that? Yeah, good question. He's played so many minutes. I think he's going to have to continue to play a lot, whatever happens. In terms of alternatives at centre forward, we've seen Trossard have little stints there. I believe we've seen Martinelli have stints there. Mikel Merino.
Have we seen Martinelli have a stint at centre forward? I'm not sure we have.
Maybe not. But do you know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of the Man City game where he scored from a centre forward position.
Yeah.
But whether that was his actual sort of, position on the pitch at the time.
Don't think so, because he came on the right, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. You're right.
So, I mean, I wouldn't be 100% opposed to Martinelli having, if you can call it a stint, but, having a go in that position.
No, I like that idea.
In certain games where I think, okay, you're looking at, how do we give Gyokeres a rest? How do we not place too much of a burden on him, given he is the only striker that we have? So he seems, they're very different, obviously, but in terms of, like, the way that you might play with Gyokeres and Martinelli in the team are kind of similar. You're not going to ask Martinelli to do a lot of holding the ball up with his back to goal, which we're asking Gyokeres to do quite a bit more than I expected, to be honest. Yep. But then he's a big guy and he should be able to deal with that. But I think if you're looking at playing a striker in behind, like the discussion always is about Gyokeres, I think that's equally applicable to Gabriel Martinelli.
Well, and he's been superb, at doing that off the bench in the early period of the season. There are certainly people at Arsenal or who've been at Arsenal across the last few seasons who have maybe petitioned is too strong, but kind of argued for Martinelli as a central option. But ultimately, I think the manager has not been convinced or persuaded that that's the way to go. I'm with you. I like the idea. And listen, I still think I also quite like Mikel Merino in certain situations. If it's a game where you're looking for a winner and you're lobbing balls in the box, I think Mikel Merino's as good as anybody at attacking them. Does he offer you the same sort of threat in behind or the speed of Gyokeres? Certainly not. But I think he's got a part to play up front. Trossard can do it, and I think is trusted there by Arteta. He just feels like it's just such a different, it's such a contrast in styles to Gyokeres, isn't it? That it almost, it's for a totally different game. It's like something we might deploy tactically for a specific opponent, but it's nothing close to a like-for-like change.
So look, let's say we've got a game where we have to give Gyokeres a rest. Who would be your first choice out of the players that we have available to us right now to start up front?
That's a really good question.
I guess it might depend on the opposition.
Depends on the opponent.
Yeah.
Like, let's say it's Atletico in the Champions League, and I think we might have a fair bit of the ball. It might be quite congested. We might be looking to deliver balls from wide areas. And given his pedigree in the competition, I think I'd probably go Mikel Merino. He didn't do too bad at home to a
Real Madrid
side in the Champions League last season. If it was, a different type of game, I would love to see the Martinelli thing. I'd be really curious about it. I don't think Atleti would be the right opponent, but there are opponents where I think he could really offer something. And it's been years really since we saw it with any consistency, and so maybe it's a bit of a mirage in our minds. Maybe we'd all see it and be like, to be honest, that doesn't work at all. We've all barked up the wrong tree. Mikel knows best, but I am curious. What about you? What would yours be? Is there anybody else? Like, would you consider a Saka or a Nwaneri?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Nwaneri is ready to do that. I mean, he's a guy I'd love to, get into the sort of shooting positions around the box.
And Mikel certainly believes or has believed it may be in his future somewhere.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I'm not sure how much I believe him.
Nor me.
But, I'll eat that humble pie.
It was a great answer to a question.
Yeah, it was.
It felt like the sort of thing Wenger would say, One day he could be a right back, and we'd all be like, wow,
what's he doing? Yeah.
People would be picking 11s with him in that position, from that point onward. But yeah, I don't think I know that Saka one sounds insane, but there is a trajectory that attackers tend to follow. Like a lot of guys who start as goal scoring wide men effectively end up or used to end up anyway as kind of centre forwards. Sure. Whether that trend is being slightly bucked now. Salah he almost did it for a time and then has ended up back in a slightly wider area. But no, I think, especially with Madueke out, he's going to be needed, isn't he?
Yeah, on that right-hand side, for sure. Let's see, what else have we got? There's a lot of questions about predictions.
Wait, so who was your pick? I feel like it's Martinelli.
I think that's what I would probably go for, would be Martinelli, regardless of the opposition.
Okay.
But yeah, that's probably why I'm just doing a podcast on a Sunday afternoon. Let's see, what else have we got? Okay, here's one from JMart91. He said, if you could just get one of the current Arsenal players on the podcast for an interview this season, who would it be?
Gosh, that is a really good question. For me, it's about thinking who would be... Because obviously, you want a big name.
Sure.
Like, you want the kudos of that. But you also want someone who's going to be...
entertaining?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting and open.
I know who I would pick.
I think I know who I would pick as well. I wonder if it's the same person.
Well, I'll allow you to go first.
I've got two.
Okay.
But I'm going to say Declan Rice.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That wasn't who I was going to pick.
I just think he's a brilliant talker. Like, I think he is very open in the right setting and very engaging. I think as well on a podcast, you're looking for someone who's sort of got a good balance of insight and personality. We dream of having either of those qualities, of course. But I think he combines those things really well. I think he's entertaining, but I think he also sort of has, I guess, a football fan's instinct for the factual information that people enjoy,
right,
and like. I think he knows. I think he's a really good interview, basically.
I can see that actually. Yeah.
But anyway, who would your pick be?
I had two as well. I would go, I think, for Eberechiesa.
That was my other one.
Yeah. I just think you could, again, in the right setting, as we saw with Ian Wright, I think what you would get is probably something closer, not 100% that way, but closer to a fan conversation with somebody who has been a fan since he was a kid, and has obviously had this incredible career and made his way back to the club, having been released as a 13-year-old. I just think that connection that you might have with a player who has experienced some of the things that you've experienced as a fan, albeit through a very different prism, playing elsewhere and working hard and developing his career. I just think, if you got into a comfortable zone with him, you could probably get a really fun interview, not just about him, but, about stuff that the club has done, been through, stuff we've won, stuff we haven't won, all that kind of stuff. I feel like that would be a good one. My other one,
that would be a great one. And also, like, I was thinking cynically, like, if the interview's right now, there's a value in a new signing.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Who has that excitement around him. That would also be great. Arsecast to issue "Come and Get Me, Please" to Declan and
Eberechiesa.
Who was your other one?
Ben White.
Ben White.
Yeah.
Of course.
Again, well, just because I do think he's an interesting guy when you see him interviewed and when you see him talk about, the game and this whole thing about like Ben White doesn't watch football, which, we believe is true. It's his job, it's his work, but you don't get to where he is without being really serious about that. So you might be able to elicit something on that level from him as well. So.
I would certainly have that aspiration, and like, it makes me laugh that like, and we're guilty of it as well, I guess, to an extent of being like, he's unusual. He's got these idiosyncrasies, and really, like, all it is he doesn't sound like every other footballer. It's like,
yeah, that's exactly.
There's nothing more normal than that in a way.
Yeah.
But my worry with him would be whether, like, the extent to which he feels kind of slightly burned by some of his experiences with the media. Like, I think you would have to. I've never interviewed Ben White. But if I was to interview him, and I would really love to, because he's a player and a person I have a lot of time for, my feeling going in would be, is this an uphill battle? Because
sure,
he has certain attitudes and beliefs about the media, which may, to be honest, be well-founded. I'm not,
yes, for sure.
Change his mind on that.
Once bitten, twice shy, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, is he going to enjoy it? I think if you could get him to enjoy it, it'd be a great interview.
Just, bring a load of dogs. He loves his dogs. I love my dogs. You love dogs. The
interview takes place in a tanning salon.
Which is right beside a dog park. It's incredible. Yeah.
We've designed the location specifically.
Yeah.
Now, I do think he would be fascinating. And, like, I think he's a smart guy and a smart footballer.
I mean, I think that's, quite true of many of our players, that they're pretty smart and they speak well, but you can see that some of them are very, very media trained, and they don't really want to say a lot outside the sort of confines of what you're expected to say as a footballer. You know, how did you enjoy that game? Oh, it was great. Yeah, great performance. Yeah, we're really good. Worked very hard. Blah blah blah. You know, some players just do not want to exist outside of that sphere, which I understand. It probably makes their life a lot less complicated.
I think Calafiori would be good as well.
Well, that's another one. Yeah.
You know, he's kind of a bit of a man of the moment currently, and I think, he's very expressive on the pitch. But I think that comes from, you know, we spoke. I enjoyed your tennis player comparison. There is a kind of an individual. What's the word? Individuality,
like a sort of There's a personality at the heart of everything that he does. You know,
yeah.
So
I don't think he doesn't seem like a man like encumbered by the need to conform. You know,
true. And why would he?
Why would he?
Look at
Calafiori.
Listen, I think we should probably leave it there.
Okay.
For this. Are we going to be able to squeeze in a waffle for our Patreon members this week?
We're certainly going to try.
Okay.
It might have to be an evening.
Okay. We can make that
our
happen.
best shot.
So if you want to get on board with that, even more than this particular episode, A Waffle for our Patreon members is a podcast in which James and I talk about anything and everything except for Arsenal. So you can join us for that on Patreon a bit later this week, patreon.com/Arseblog. And of course, we'll look ahead to the Moustache War at the weekend a little bit later on in the week with a regular Arsecast and all the rest. But for now, thank you for being here on this Interlull Sunday. Let's keep fingers crossed for all of our boys who are out there playing, that they come home unscathed and fit and ready to go. For now, though, take it easy, folks, and we will catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye.